Okay, we're going. We are going. Thanks for jumping on the horn.
That's all right. Yeah, I can't stay long, but I'm here.
It's okay. That's good. That's good. No, I appreciate it, Steve.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so all right, so we're here. We're live, and I'm going to start the recording on this end. And okay, we're going. So let me just say good morning to everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to, hi everybody, welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa, and I wanted to come and do an announcement this morning to let you all know that the Fets has been burning the clock, and he's around. Hi everybody, we're going to do our report tomorrow, which we don't live stream Fetzer anymore right now, but we are on BitChute, but that will be out tomorrow. Hello. So today joining me is, our GoldFish Report favorite co-host, another favorite co-host, Steve over in Europe. And we're going to do an update on what the heck is going on over in Europe with this whole COVID situation, because you hear me talking about it a whole week long. You hear everybody else talking about it all week, but we really don't have any details on what's happening in Europe. So, Steve, thanks for being with me, Steve, today.
Hi, good morning, good evening, wherever it is, wherever you are. It's
So,
nice
Steve,
afternoon here.
So you're want to tell us where you are and what you're seeing, what the latest
Well,
is,
I'm in Austria.
generally, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm in Austria. I'm originally from Australia, but I've been in contact with people in Australia and the States, of course, and in other parts of Europe. So the situation at the moment over here is Austria's sort of coming out of the lockdown, and they're realizing that sorry if there's a bit of noise, I'm on the street here.
It's okay.
Look, they're realizing that the economy is going to tank, so they're afraid of for their political lives. So what they're doing is they're lifting restrictions as much as they can without losing face because of this whole lockdown. They don't want to be seen as doing an 180-degree about face. So they're relieving, taking back some of the restrictions here. We don't need to wear masks in most places.
God.
Yeah, so I mean, the mask nonsense I'm hearing elsewhere in the world is still in place in many countries, but here it's good. Italy, it all depends on where you are in Europe. Each country is different, but things are getting easier here. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing from Australian friends, especially in Melbourne and Victoria, they're on second lockdown, so they're back to square one. It's very disturbing, and they're very depressed, the people I've spoken to.
I just saw our friend Tim Emslie down in Australia. He's online, but I don't think he got my message to join us.
He's in Victoria too, I believe.
Yeah, so he could give us an update on. He might be actually live on his own channel. In fact, it actually looks like he is. But Steve, it's okay. So were people wearing masks at one time, and then they stopped, or did you ever have to wear the mask?
We didn't have to wear them outside. It again went against the like our constitution here, and they called our bluff basically, and there was a big uproar. So I think there's certain elements of the Austrian society getting it. Certainly in Germany there are protests I've been hearing about. You see it on some of the social media, but it's not really reported. There's a lockdown on media, of course, and they're still putting out numbers of deaths, but they're not saying why they're dying or what age group are dying. So basically they're cherry picking the numbers to try and scare people. So the scare tactics are still in the media here. I see it also in the other press, the French, Italian, and Spanish press. When I scan across the headlines, you see the same. It's all orchestrated across the board still. So the fear mongering is still there. Unfortunately, they have to react because I think most people realize there's going to be an economic collapse at some stage if they keep this up. I think it's already there anyway. I mean, the banks aren't getting mortgage payments, rental payments aren't coming in. So there is a crisis just around the corner, and the unemployment levels are alarmingly high. So we're going to see the fallout from what's happened.
And are you saying that there was Okay, so you don't have to wear the masks, but have most businesses reopened? Or how many were shut down? I mean, were you actually in complete,
Yes,
blackout
yes.
shutdown mode for a period
Everything
of
was locked
time?
down. You weren't
Okay.
allowed to go out. The same. I think it was the same with you guys and Australia. You weren't allowed to go out unless you were buying food or you were going to
Unless we had a reason to go out.
the drugstore. Exactly. And in
We
fact,
couldn't go out unless we had a reason to,
no,
and
they were
you can't,
harassing people.
you
They were
have to
harassing
wear,
people on the streets. That's right.
you have to
No, they
wear a
were
mask
yeah.
at a restaurant unless you're sitting down eating. Then it's okay. You don't
Yeah,
need to
I know.
wear one.
Well, if you're in Italy or you're in Switzerland, there's a plexiglass screen between you and the other people
Yeah,
at
that's
the
what we
next table.
have.
That's right. That's right. We don't have
Everybody.
that. We don't have that crap here. We don't have that here.
Oh my God. No,
Yeah,
no, you're allowed to go out unless you're not allowed to go out unless you have a reason. Then it's okay to go out. You can't go, shopping, but you can go to Home Depot
yeah.
because you might need to go there. I
But
mean,
yeah. Let me tell you what was interesting. What happened here in Austria specifically is that
please.
the police handed out within weeks over 30,000 fines to people who were in parks, who were sitting on
Oh,
the grass. I mean, just nonsense. What happened
yes.
was, unfortunately, they mainly targeted. And I have a friend in the judicial offices, and he said that mainly they were to foreigners. With foreign names and homeless people, they were charging them €500, which I guess is something like $700.
Yeah, how are they going to pay that?
No, exactly. So it was just simply to scare people. So what happened was some high-powered lawyers basically challenged
Whoa.
this edict by the government. Now, weeks and weeks later, they find out that it's all been annulled. They don't need to pay these fines because they were illegal. So that's very interesting. So I mean, don't just do what these people say. Think about it. It may be illegal what the governments are putting out, what they're demanding from the people.
I mean, of course it's illegal, but this is America. Unless you have,
I
wait,
mean,
wait, wait, wait,
according
no,
to our judicial
wait,
system,
it
your
works in
system is different
America.
again. So yeah, yeah.
No, but because it's far more corrupt than Europe. I have to tell you. I mean, in the United
Oh,
States,
I don't know about that. We're
if
pretty
you have,
bad. We're pretty bad.
well, well, you're saying that they're taking actions themselves, Steve, because it's illegal. But where the problem is that uh, we're screwed here because the people who are in control are the ones trying to destroy the country, like the Democrats in the Democrat states. And the problem with that is they're destroying these beautiful cities, and they're allowing that to happen because they're Marxist. This is a Marxist
Well, they don't want Trump to get
insurgency.
re-elected. They don't want him to win both houses. That's what's going on with if you're in neck of the woods.
Yeah,
That's what's happening.
exactly. I mean, this is not a surprise that this is an election here, only a few months before an election, a presidential
Exactly.
election.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but here in the US, it doesn't matter. You can claim you have rights all you want. We don't have rights under the admiralty law system because we are either a corporation, a ship, or we are dead. That's why you have to have an attorney. That's why the judges wear black robes. So
That's
we
what
are
has to
not
change.
treated.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we are not, you go into a courtroom, you have no rights, and that's when you find out. It doesn't matter. They tell you all this propaganda on television about what rights we have, but you don't. It's absolutely hoodwinked lie. We're
The
slaves.
system has to change at the fundamental level. You have to restore your organic constitution, and that has to come from the states. Where you are
Yes.
is important because what happens where you are,
Yeah.
Louisa, is going to reverberate across the world. And we won't be free in Europe unless you do it first, because the Europeans are still sleeping. They don't get it here.
Well, Steve, there's a lot of sleepwalkers here too,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And they're in the Steve, most of these people in these BLM riots are white. I mean, like, where did they come from? Are they all being
Well,
completely mind controlled through their
or
cell
delusional,
phones?
or they're being paid, one or the other.
Well,
So,
they're being paid
or
too, but
both,
to
or both.
destroy their own country. But Steve, these are young people. It's like, what has happened in the world with this younger generation? They just don't have a sense of morals and values. What has happened?
Well, I discussed that with quite a few of my friends. Well, not quite a few of my friends. There's not that many people working up here, but it's. I think we've a society of entitlement. There's a hubris, a decadence involved where we are. They've never experienced any type of real suffering. I'm hoping that's not what we need to do as a race or as humanity, as a species. We don't need to go through that. I'm hoping that we will learn to take care of each other and realize we're all one. We're all basically we've got bigger enemies to fight than ourselves. And so the divide and conquer policy has been working up until now. But I think basically the youth, I mean, it's a general statement.
Yeah,
They
general.
they just don't get many things. And I think they as I said, the entitlement, they believe that the world owes them a living. And they're not thinking clearly. So I think until some sort of crisis hits them in the face, they're not going to wake up. That's my feeling, unfortunately, and it's been difficult for me to come to terms with that, because I believe in the basic goodness of humanity. But
is there like a generation of narcissists emerging? Is
that's
that
it. Well, look at Facebook. Look at the thumbs up on Facebook. What is that? It's all, everybody's looking for acknowledgement. There's a very interesting Austrian psychologist. I don't think it's translated into English. He goes on. He's been attacked. He's basically he talks about exactly these topics. He talks about the narcissism in society. He talks about the sheepism, the fact that people will give up their rights simply through fear. He talks about all these topics, and very intelligently. He asks questions. Like Q does. He poses questions to people rather than making blatant statements, and he gets many people thinking. And there is quite a bit of resonance in the German-speaking countries, but not enough as far as I'm concerned. It's still a small number of the population. Maybe it'll always be like that. So unfortunately, I mean, I can't judge where you are, and I can only look at what's on Twitter, and I don't look at Facebook anymore, but I can't stand it. But it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. But I think that there is a growing number. I do have hope that the numbers are growing. I don't see them in my personal circle. I see half-awake people. I see that people that are puzzled. I try to give them answers, but then it's too off the deep end, a lot of the stuff I say. The truth bombs are too big. I'm hoping that with this show indictment of Ghislaine Maxwell, what do you call it, Ghislaine Maxwell, will be the thin edge of the wedge to release the hidden information about the pedogate and exactly what's been going on with child trafficking, human trafficking, all that stuff. I hope that comes out. That'll wake up a lot of people.
Yeah. Did you read that she's going to be released on bail?
That's ridiculous. If that's
She's
true.
going to be released on bail. She's going to be wearing a wire. Are you kidding me? She's going to have an ankle bracelet on. She's going to be wearing a wire and a camera, and she's going to collect more evidence. Don't you kid yourself. They're not going to. She's not going to get away this easily.
Well, she's not stupid. She was in Paris, in France, and France has no extradition treaty with the United States, so she was basically safe. So if she was in New Hampshire, which they said she was, she obviously cut a deal.
Yeah.
It's impossible. She's not stupid. She would not be in the States.
Right.
So obviously she got a deal. This is all for show. It's a timed release of information, whatever this is.
Right. No, it's very smart. That's very clever, Steve. That's a really good way to look at that, because we are.
I don't buy it for a second.
Yeah, no, and Twitter, in fact, I know what you mean about Facebook. It's pretty much a waste of time these days.
It is.
You know,
it's so filtered as well. Twitter is too. But at least you can I can log in. I can say follow certain people, and I can go to this. I mean, for instance, the GoldFish Report. I do not see any of your feeds. I see nothing. So I have to go to your page, your site on Twitter to see it. It's blacklisted. It's shadow banned.
Shadow banned. Yep. Of course we are.
Yep.
Can't have a free thinking mind whatsoever. Well,
Nope.
let me just say that the reason, Sweden, I know you can't. I don't know if you really know much about Sweden, but Sweden had never, regarding this whole COVID thing, but Sweden had never closed down. And I'm going to just screen share this map here. Someone on Twitter here was saying the reason Sweden didn't shut down for COVID is because of the child trafficking hub stop into Europe.
It's very possible.
And these routes, even from Canada into Greenland and then into Europe, and that's why they never shut down. I don't know if that's and so here it says once it goes into from the United States, it goes up to Canada, over to Greenland, and then Iceland, and then into Norway is the next stop. Actually, it's quite, I cannot independently verify this, but then once it's in Europe, it goes out into into Sweden, and then down into Germany, Poland, and then
It's all over the world. It's all over the world.
yeah, and that this is
Yeah.
the route. And, unfortunately, we do know people, who are in Sweden who said, look, I mean, it's been called now the rape capital of the world. And it's really sad that people have not been, the Swedes are as resistant as everybody else, thinking that their government's not going to let things happen. But let's not forget Germany, folks. I mean, of all people, Germans can't forget. They can't, don't they see the writing on the wall, what's happening? And also, Steve, I mean, they want us divided. That's why they're doing these riots. That's why they're destroying the streets. That's why they're doing the BLM. So that we're not paying attention to what their ultimate agenda is, which is, depopulation, of course. So
yeah, depopulation, control of the masses. Fear controls people more than anything else. As we've realized, I keep thinking back to the 30s here in Europe. After the First World War, there was enormous poverty, hyperinflation, hunger. It was disastrous, and so people basically wanted security. Hitler promised that. He's National Socialists, the Socialist Party. Let's not forget that they were National Socialists. They promised
sound familiar? Sound familiar, folks?
That's
in America,
right, socialists. Yeah,
America. I mean, take a lesson from the history of the past.
Anti-fascists, but these were socialists. They launched themselves on the socialist platform. So we just should not forget that, and that's exactly what's happening again. I see it over across the pond where you are. So it's and the flags are just reversed with different colors. It's the same logo, in fact. So it's horrific. It's in your face as well. I mean, I don't understand why people just don't see it. They don't want to see it.
They're not connecting the dots, though, Steve. I mean, a lot of people are not connecting the dots.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, they're not connecting the dots between these riots and that it's a political movement, and that it's even funded by globalists that are never out in the public, but are always behind the scenes. They don't. That's conspiracy theory, Steve. Oh my God, where's our tinfoil hat, Steve?
Yeah, I know.
You left.
Mine's
did you
worn
leave
out.
yours
Mine's
home?
worn out.
Yours is worn out. There's holes in it. You need to patch it up.
I need to reline it.
You need to patch it up, my friend.
I need to find another roll of aluminium foil.
Who do you patch it up with? Get a little duct tape.
That's right.
Duct tape works on everything, doesn't it?
Well, as I keep saying, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy therapist. So that's what I do. What I can. Yeah, that's what I do. Anyway, so
that's very true.
Yeah. So the youth, we have to talk to the youth. I mean, they're probably the most brainwashed of them all. The schooling system and stuff. I've had arguments with younger people. Some people sort of get it. It's anyway. We need you've been doing your best to get the message out. I have too, and let's just hope for the best, Louisa.
Steve, is it an abandonment of religion? I mean, not to say.
Yes, the Christian religion was a moral compass. The good side of Islamicism also was a moral compass. I've met very good Islamic people when I was over in Israel and in the Middle East. It's the extremists. It's always the extremists, and because the core of it is basically respect God, respect each other, love each other, especially the New Testament in the Christian Bible. So if we follow those tenets of do unto others as you do unto yourself, you would do unto yourself, then the world would be a better place. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So
well, look,
and
we're seeing.
I just want to finish. And we're losing that,
Steve.
and because people don't have a moral compass. And I talk to
Okay, yeah, there you are. Okay,
yeah.
cut out.
I talk to many of my religious friends. Let's say the Christian religious friends that are devout, and they lament the same thing that there's people walking away from the church. Well, because of the pedophilia and the things like that. So it doesn't make sense. They're not walking the walk. They're just talking the talk. So what we need to do is we need to regain a moral compass wherever it comes from. As I said, we had it in our Western Christian religion. So let's re-find it. So just maybe the New Age has some answers. I'm hoping they do.
Well, I also saw yesterday RT was reporting these riots. I mean, Tel Aviv has got thousands. I mean, it looked like 100,000 people in Tel Aviv all protesting.
Well, they know about the corruption with Netanyahu. There's not a secret there.
Yeah.
He's basically sewn it all up, and it's just blatant. So a lot of people get it over there. I mean, I don't envy that country at the moment. It's going to become pretty hairy over there pretty soon.
And also Serbia, Steve. Serbia has had major riots as well.
Well, they had, again, against corruption. I mean, whenever I went down to the Balkans for a holiday, you talk to people on the street, the youth were leaving in droves, much like Ireland at the beginning of the century, last century. People are leaving because of the corruption. There's no hope because it's all sewn up. And you see the politicians walking around the street. You see them, they look like popinjays walking around in their big, $1,000 suits, and you just know that the whole thing reeks of corruption. So so look, they know what's going on. I'm glad people are going on the streets. The French will go on the streets.
Yeah.
I think I told you once before, people are a bit too placid where I am. And they need to at some point. I just think things have to get
careful
much
what
worse.
You wish for.
well, I don't think anything else is going to wake them up. I mean, if we can. It's like a slow motion train wreck that we're riding on at the moment. As Ike says, the tiptoe to totalitarianism. We're doing it very slowly. So I think unless. I'm actually, in a way, I'm hoping that the dam does break at some point and people start suffering. Only then will they realize something's not right.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is going to wake them up.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, Tel Aviv right now, and folks, you're not going to see this anywhere on the mainstream news. I'm going to see if I can pull this up from our news page, because I did retweet what was going on over there. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let me see. This is. I think I've got it. Hold on a second. Let me just close this hide sidebar. Yeah. Okay, so this is what's happening in Tel Aviv, and I couldn't believe how many people were coming out. They've got these horses, on foot here. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. This is in Tel Aviv, folks. I mean, and this has been going on for a few days, I think.
Well, I mean, I don't know what these images are you're showing. The last I read from Tel Aviv is they're partly complaining about the lockdown because they believe it's simply a method of control that the regime wants to put on them, and also they're complaining about the corruption of Netanyahu. They want him to leave as well. So I don't know what they're complaining about. But,
it says here
unrest.
They call him the crime minister, and they say mass protest slams Israeli government's COVID-19 response. Exactly right.
There you go.
Arrests were made in clashes with police as thousands of protesters descended on Tel Aviv's Rabin Square to condemn the government's policies during the coronavirus pandemic. And Israelis are tough, man. They're not going to take it.
Stupid. They ain't stupid.
Hey, guess who joined us?
Who's there? Is that Tim?
You're right. Guess who joined us? Welcome, mate. Down under. Hey, Tim.
Hello.
How you doing,
Hey, Tim. How you going?
Good.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Steve and I were just talking about what the latest is regarding the whole COVID scamdemic, and he was reporting. Go ahead, Steve.
Tim, you look like you're in your man cave. Where are you?
I'm in the car.
Oh, okay.
Are
you okay, mate?
Where are you? Are you in Victoria? Where are you? Or in New South Wales?
I'm sort of near Victoria, New South border. Yes.
Oh, okay. So will they let you through? That's the big question.
It's not about whether they let you into Victoria. It's whether they let you out.
I know. That's what I was thinking. They let you head into New South Wales. It's lockdown, baby.
So, yes. There are forms that are available online which take 5 minutes to fill out, and there's a list of different categories that are critical workers. There could be medical or critical infrastructure development. So once you fill out a form and everything, it gives you a right of passage. But there are police and military support people there with the police, and there's booze buses. They look like alcohol and drug testing buses.
Yeah, booze buses are for drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. So there
Just
have been
translated.
arrests. People
Oh,
have
I'm
been
sure there are.
arrested.
Yeah, Tim, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Tim, in Melbourne, are there people complaining? Are there people going on the streets about the second lockdown, or are they all being sheeple and they're staying at home with their masks on?
Well, a bit of both, because it's been very, very quiet. There's from what I've heard, there's not much traffic around there, especially at night time, especially during the night. But there are different police and with military personnel along different major freeways coming from places like Frankston in towards the city, where they're checking people to see where they're going, and they don't want people from Western Melbourne as having a huge outbreak. But on another hand, you may have seen that video from that guy. I can't think of his name, but he's from Brighton, but he does reporting on the 5G, and he was there at Flemington with the building complexes with the 3,000 people inside, who are mostly of ethnicities from the Middle East and African continental people. So, yeah.
So New Zealand, Tim, we had a live stream viewer in our chat, rather, who was saying that she's from New Zealand, and she caught our live stream on Saturday and said that at this point, we were talking about guns and the fact that everyone in New Zealand had given up their guns, and now they're just coming into people's homes and they're taking you. They're taking people if they, for whatever reason, and you can't do a thing about it. What about where you are?
It hasn't got to that level yet, but what do they call it? Phase 2 or COVID stage 2 Australia. They have stepped it up a bit by introducing the military and having testing points. And I'm not sure I'm not sure what happens if you go through the border with a temperature. They may take the temperature and then order
Wait, 1
you.
second. I gotta mute you, Steve, for a second.
Yep.
Yep.
So go ahead. There was some, sorry, occasional noise. If I have to mute you, it's just because of
Okay.
it's competing with the sound. Okay, but you're fine. Keep going, Tim. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe that if they check your temperature, they then have a right to order you to be tested. But I'm not quite sure, but in that statement, it seems that if they point that little red gun thing and get a high temperature reading on your forehead,
Right.
then they have a right to tell you, to order you to get tested, which a lot of people are upset about because they're becoming aware that if we have to wear a mask to stop it spreading, why do they need to put a swab right up the back of the nose under the membrane lining of the brain in the back of your nose? Like, some people have been suggesting that they're actually implanting some sort of
whatever. They're putting stuff in there. That's right. You never know.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're doing. That's right.
Yeah. So I've got colloidal silver here, which I bought today, so that if I was to become trapped in a queue and then I was forced to have a test, which hasn't happened to me yet, fortunately, but if I was to, I would put the colloidal silver into my hand.
It'd be snorting it.
I would saturate my sinuses like you would if you were catching waves at the beach. And that way, I would hope that the colloidal silver would kill or
whatever's there. That's right.
Yeah, whatever's on it, if there is something on it. It's so much conflicting information. I don't want to say conspiracy theories because that conjures up the people who think, wow, you're all conspiracy conspiracy theorist, but there's so many different theories of what's going on. You know, there's also that children are being rescued from Port Melbourne, and that something to do with transport ships that go to Tasmania and everything, and something in Flemington connected to Port Melbourne and tunnels, and children being pulled out as well. And I really don't know, but they said there's children are being pulled out in tents during the night. I can't confirm that to be true, and you know, I really don't know what's going on. Everyone's confused. Oh, it's really confusing. All I know is that it's out of Melbourne. It's in Albury. It's now in Wagga Wagga. It's in 3 towns around Wagga Wagga. It's made its way up the freeway. I've had to drive down the freeway from Wollongong where I was working, and every time I had to put fuel in at a BP or a Shell or a Caltex service station, I have to put gloves on, and hopefully they supply the antibacterial stuff. Otherwise, I've got this here, the antibacterial wash. By the way, that's $8 now. When before COVID, it was probably $1.50. So someone's making a shitload of money out of this. But you know, it's all the way. There's little hot spots. It's made its way to Sydney, and now it's broken out in Sydney at Casula, which again is a highly Middle Eastern and sort of ethnicity, a very complex ethnicity in that part of Sydney, where there's this, you know, people say people are living in close proximity and they don't have the same hygienic standards as Europeans. I don't know how true that statement is, because that's a derogatory statement to some people from those areas who are probably very, very clean. But
and we also don't know if the numbers are true. We don't know.
Yeah. Right.
It is spreading around. I mean, I'm working right beside the train track near Wollongong, and that train goes right past the domestic and international airport from Wollongong to Sydney. So we're all, and you know, my boss is on the phone to me. You know, everyone's starting to get worried, especially from in the business world as well. In the business world, it's even becoming an issue because it was like it was going away. It was all died out. Australia's, it's all going away. It's like it never really went anywhere, and we defeated it. And then as soon as it stops, it breaks out in Melbourne. And I heard Bill Gates was there and in New Zealand just shortly. And I heard that New Zealand in about 2 weeks' time is going to be going into massive military lockdown, but I can't confirm that without watching.
Oh boy.
I'm not surprised after the report we had received, you know, in our live stream, or our live chat rather. It does seem, you know, very, very severe. This is the New World Order, folks. And if you thought that was a conspiracy theory, then think again, because this is happening globally, and they are trying to now, you know, focus in on their last stages of their plan to take over humanity, to, you know, I mean, look, this is according to their plans. The UN is on their website what the New World Order agenda is, right? And so this isn't conspiracy theory, it is fact. So let me just say, so Tim, have you, and what about your family, your mom, you know, your dad, they okay? Everybody all right there?
Yeah, they're fine. I hadn't seen my parents for 4 months, and I saw them for 10 minutes today, and spoke to them from about 2.5 meters away from them. I mean, I've obviously regularly spoken on the phone and done a few like Skype sessions with them, but to actually return back to the farm and stand there and then have to keep a distance with them, it just felt really ridiculous. But at the same time, they're both 86 years old. if it is a real thing, it could be a killer for them, and so they've been remotely isolating themselves and getting veteran RSL food drops delivered to them out on the farm. And it was funny because they came to the door and they both got they used to regularly get haircuts, and both their hair has become quite long, like like a nutty professor long. And I'm like, oh my God, my parents' hair's grown. They're like gone from resembling uptight Mormons to outcast hippies.
Hippies. Let me ask you both about. Let me both ask you about in each country that you're in. Steve, what is the? I think you and I talked about this before. What is the law there regarding your right to bear arms?
It's unusual here in Austria. In Germany, you're not allowed to own arms unless you've got a hunting license. It's pretty much the same here in Austria, but they do allow you to have certain weapons even without a license for self-defense. We had in 1938, May 1938, we had the Anschluss, which was where Germany basically took over Austria. They marched in, and I guess they're trying to, as we signed here in 1955 the neutrality agreement with the powers of Russia, France, Germany, England, and America. We agreed to neutrality here, and so we basically we're allowed to defend ourselves. So yeah, we're allowed to own certain types of very simple weapons, but people don't generally own weapons here. In Switzerland, for instance, every male, Swiss male, has a rifle at home because they have to do national service. They do have that here too for self-defense. So it's not like the States. No, you guys, the Australians, they basically disarm them all. Unless you've got a hunting license, you can't have a rifle, and then it's not a semi-automatic or anything like that. It's just a simple bolt action, probably. So
I see.
Yeah, so very simple stuff.
What about you, Tim? What is the law there presently regarding your right to bear arms, or do you have one?
They don't have one.
Yeah, we have one. It's not like it used to be, obviously, since the Martin Bryant incident. That's obviously not exactly what we've been told it is, because it was to disarm it. But yeah, you're not allowed to have. It's like got to be single shot. They're real careful about
bolt action.
Yeah, to be multiple shot stuff and you got.
There's no right. There's no right to bear arms. It's something in the States. You've got a right. That's something in the States. We don't have rights.
You've got to keep it locked up in cupboards and things. It's not like in America where you can keep one in the glove box of your car or carry on you in a certain way around the public.
Right.
You've got to be going hunt or something,
I've got to go, unfortunately, but Tim, good luck getting over the border. And Louisa, hope everything's okay where you are. I got to go.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. Thanks for joining me, Steve. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for the update.
Yeah. Take care, mate. Ciao, ciao.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye. Ciao, ciao. So Tim, it's been a very long time, my friend, since we've done an update. And what are you holding up there?
Yes, it is. So this is an example. The same thing was with the Queensland border back in stage 1 COVID, but now the Victorian government, the state of Victoria, has issued this pass. This is an example.
I see.
For people that want to get back into New South Wales, and people are meant to stick this on their window, and you'll be pulled into a queue with, orange witch hats, and police or military personnel will check your license and ask you questions about where you're going, and there's also a registration online to say,
there you go. It's just like in World War II, Tim. You got papers? You can't travel without your papers. You got papers? Right.
I was going to be sarcastic and go online and find out what the Star of David looks like, and then put it on here and stick it on my window just to be an arse to sort of see what reaction I'd get.
Yeah.
I probably won't follow through with it, but I thought it would be a good way to stir the pot.
Stir the pot.
You know what I mean? Yeah, stir the pot.
I have it, in fact. And you know what I have? I'm going to show it to you. I have the one that says COVID on it. So I'm going to send that one to you. So you oh
Wow.
my God, you're going to stir the pot. You're going to get yourself arrested. You better be careful there.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've never been arrested actually. I'm not going to say there's always a first time, but you always got in the back of your head that there's never been an offence to be arrested for. So if there's always a first time, well, there can be a first time, you know.
Right. So
I'm wishing it.
So Tim, yeah, there is some rumor going around, and maybe it's truthful. I'm not sure about whether the actual tests. And what's interesting is Catherine Austin Fitz this morning, who is the editor and owner of Solari Report, and she was the former director of HUD. She has tweeted this morning that all these tests that she's seen have come from China. So isn't that funny?
Wow. That's interesting because I have, where is it? Sorry, I had to go grocery shopping because instead of going through drive-thrus and takeaways and being in multiple places where you could potentially contract the virus, I had to go into a town that was safe in New South Wales and do some shopping. So my car's loaded with food for 3 days, where I don't have to source food and water from anywhere else other than my car from one shopping trip. So that's a strategy in order to be responsibly preventative of the virus. There's gloves, but in what you were just saying, what's come to mind is they're selling these antiseptic wipes and they're plain label. And they're not very good. Oh, there's the Star of David, and they come from China too. And I accidentally touched my tongue on the antiseptic liquid in there, and I thought it gave me a bit of a sore throat a week or so ago for a couple of days. And I'm like, well, what's in the antibacterial wipes that are being imported from China? Everyone remembers the baby powder.
Right.
So without being paranoid, let's remember that quality control of products for human consumption or hygiene have come under scrutiny before from other jurisdictions where they're being poisoned or whatever. So, and that's also with the mass manufacturing of vaccinations, where you don't have the quality control, that Robert Kennedy is seeking, So, again, it's all about, can we trust these products that we walk in and buy without questioning and assume that, they're antiseptic wipes. So,
well, what happens to free thinkers, or critical thinkers? And what about the situation with the mask over there? Because I've been reporting on this for a while about, let's just take a look at this. Here is the New England Journal of Medicine. This is internationally recognized as a credible medical journal, right? It says it just on May 21st, Tim, if you could see this, in 2020, the universal masking in hospitals in the COVID-19 era. And it says, we know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. And then it further goes down. It says, public health authorities define a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact within 6 feet with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19 that is sustained for at least a few minutes. And some say more than 10 minutes or even 30. So the chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public space is therefore minimal. And in many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. Do you have any laws there? What's been the rules about wearing masks?
In Melbourne now, wearing masks is being enforced in the lockdown areas of Melbourne. So not all of Melbourne is in lockdown, but there's certain suburbs which are in lockdown zones, and they are being patrolled by police and military support. And if people in those zones are not wearing them, they are being told that they should be wearing them. And like today, like my for employment reasons, to protect the interest of our clients and the whole thing with business and all that, there has to be a certain protocol that's followed to protect the workplace. And so, you know, I was told that I have to wear a mask when I get out of the car to fuel up or so on while I'm on break. So I didn't. I've got some masks here, but I've bought some more today. This cost $10, which is probably about, you know, $6 American dollars.
Can you show us that again? Can you show us that again? Oh, it's just
a little packet of masks.
Okay.
In a small packet, and I think there's 5 in there.
Okay.
Whereas just before COVID, back in February, I went into a chemist and you could get 50 of these for $15 or something. So, you know.
Do they make you wear it while you're working?
No, because I'm not working in a lockdown zone. The lockdown zones in Melbourne, Victoria, where there's serious lockdown, and it's associated with certain suburbs where it seems to be spreading very quickly. There's like up to 150 to 200 new cases a day, and this has just suddenly happened starting about a week ago. It's just gone from hardly any activity to it's just shooting, and it's going, the needle's going up rapidly. So everyone's watching this, saying what's going to happen next, and then people are like, oh no, they're going to close the border, it's not going to go to Sydney, it's not going to go to Brisbane, but it's already there. Truck drivers are bringing it in. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Are people there concerned about their? Are people there concerned about their civil liberties and their, restrictions of freedoms?
Some are. Some are in that train of thought, and others are like watching the TV and whatever the news on the TV and the government and the protocol of our mighty leaders tell us what we should be doing. They follow that. Like they know what's best for us, so we should be doing what they tell us to do. And so there's that group as well. There's the mainstreamers who follow the nightly news and abide by instruction without questioning, and then there's those who go critically questioning if something's not right. Like I was talking to a couple of mainstreamers the other day, and I put a seed in their minds because I said this quote without having proof of the truth of this. I said, why is it that apparently there's the amount of children that have gone missing, say, last year or something, in the United States, the amount of missing children that have disappeared off the face of the earth, never to be found or seen again, that's not in the media, and the statistics of that, the numbers of children, is far greater than the amount of people that have ever died of COVID-19 so far. And yet every day on the TV, it's COVID-19, it's a big problem, it's scary. But then if there's more kids going missing than have died of COVID why is that not on the TV like for hours a day, being
Exactly.
a discussion point with media and newsrooms? So when you take that into account, you got to go, something's going on here. Obviously, even if the statistics are real, the media is on steroids over this when it's an overkill. So obviously, it's a social engineering. What do you call it? Like there's a narrative being played out that is more intense than the actuality of the event of the contraction and deaths of COVID. But
Right.
they're blowing it up into a huge thing. So, yeah.
Well, we also have here, hold on a second. I was going to screen share something that you might have seen as well. This is from the World Health Organization, which we've just withdrawn from, but you can see that the World Health Organization on March 1st said when to use a mask. If you are healthy, you only need to wear a mask if you are taking care of a person with suspected coronavirus infection. Now, that is consistent with what the New England Journal of Medicine said as well. Wear a mask if you are coughing or sneezing. And here is another tweet by the World Health Organization saying when to use a mask. If you are healthy, you only need to wear a mask if you are taking care of a person with suspected coronavirus. So, you know what? Or if you're coughing or sneezing. So, you know, what I don't see is like there's some look, I want everyone to be safe too. Nobody wants to get sick. So clearly, we know that hydroxychloroquine is a treatment and it's even preventative, right? Because it forms, according to Dr. Judy Mikovits, it forms a layer, a protective layer around the cell so the virus cannot penetrate it. So it's that's kind of like an immune response, right? Because these are antimalarial drugs and you do build up a resistance, which is why you don't see, right? Which is why we don't see in equatorial regions of the planet, we don't see COVID cases because these people have built up through their anti-malarial drugs, which is common in more equatorial regions, right, Tim? That they have malaria. And so these drugs are more in their system. And so they have a resistance to it. But they're not going to talk about that on the propaganda media. What we have to realize is like in Australia and even where Steve is in Europe, and you know, quite frankly, even in United States, what happened in World War II was so horrific that the world believes that, oh, that could never happen again because they wouldn't let it happen. Well, when we forget that we are the checks and balances, right, Tim? But here
Yeah.
it is. Here it is. It just seems like we're walking right in, you know, to another gas chamber, so to speak, right? As an analogy.
Yeah. We just hit the nail on the head before. We've all been programmed, like you said, that'll never happen again because, you know, they won't let it happen. I mean, that's a program running in me because I've been taught by watching everything that on TV as a kid and growing up, and trusting that we've learned from our mistakes and would never do it again. But that's not true because we're seeing this unfolding like this. And excuse me, I'm just trying to turn this off.
Okay, why don't go ahead and do that while you're looking for a place to park. Just I really appreciate you joining us, and Steve was happy to see you as well. It was good to connect with you again. We haven't seen you in a long time, and we didn't really even know what was going on down there with the initial cases being reported, because it has been so inconsistent, which is why I think so many people are very confused over what to believe and what not to believe. And you know, the social distancing uh, and you know, it's either that helps or it doesn't help. Either the mask helps or it doesn't help. I mean, if you're symptomatic or if you're around someone who is, that's when it's contagious, according to these organizations. So we just have to be, you know, careful, folks. We have to be very, very careful. Someone in the live chat is saying, time to step away from all old programming instilled in family, friends, religion, politics, shooting, military. I know I served in Israeli military. You know, what's happening in Tel Aviv then, Irit? you want to tell us what's going on? Because Steve, before you jumped in, Steve and I were talking about what's going on in the world. And right now in Tel Aviv, there's massive, massive protests that I'm seeing on being reported on YouTube videos, and on actually RT reported it, and also in Serbia. So people are definitely protesting. They're not BLM protesters. They're protesting these draconian restrictions imposed by the governments regarding the COVID-19. Have you seen any protests anywhere in your travels at all there in Australia?
No, not recently. There were some, but going back maybe 6, 7 weeks ago, there were some. But I mean, the whole Black Lives Matter thing that followed through over here with the deaths of Australian Indigenous Aboriginals in custody, and the mistreatment in the racism issue. There's current racism issue here, but not everyone is in that state of mind. But yeah, there currently there doesn't seem to be any protests that I'm aware of. Maybe there's some 5G stuff going on
Okay.
in alternative areas, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Like with towers, or I'm not sure. Yeah.
You see, and I'll tell you, it's certain areas just seem to have a population that's just so much more sheepish than others, you know.
Yeah.
Because some areas are more awake than others, and things like, you know, and it's
Yep.
difficult. Tim, how many times have we talked about the difficulty in trying to make sense in a conversation with someone who is resistant to facts? I mean, that's the real virus. There is people who are resistant to facts are the real virus.
Yeah. A lot of people say, they walk up to me, people that know me, and they go, "So tell me, Tim, what conspiracy theories are going on at the moment? I'd like to know." And they
Uh,
say it sarcastically. It's
yeah.
almost like, a bit of a dig at me.
Uh-huh.
And I go, "Oh, well, there's this and this and this." And then the person says, "Well, that's not true because I've fact checked it." And I go, "Oh, where'd you get your information?" And they go, "Wikipedia." And I'm like, "But did you use critical thinking, or did you simply need to have a source to decide for you that you just decide is
Right.
legit, so that you don't have to choose any of the others?" And then there was silence. So, and then I then went, "I'm actually a critical thinker,
Uh-huh.
and I don't," and because there was an accusation there that I just jump onto something
Right.
without even like investing in it,
Right.
as if jumping on the train for the sake of it. I'm like, no, you've got to actually
Mhm.
have a look at what's going on there. Sure, there's a trend, and there's a what do they call it? Pop
Right.
culture around certain theories, but when you actually go in and start reading information and digesting that as to see why, even if you can't prove it with a matter of doubt, you can see that
Mm.
when you connect all the dots together, even if you were a professional detective trying to solve a murder, that detective putting all those dots together could not say
Yeah.
that it's not true without being able to prove that it definitely is.
Well, the first
So
thing
yeah,
is that Wikipedia is also a tool. You know, it's not. It's a globalist tool, and the truths have been edited out of their. For the most part, a lot of listings, you know, are edited and subjective to you know, the Wikipedia narrative and agenda. So that would be the first argument, is that, do you know who Wikipedia actually is? And so that would be the first place to go with somebody like that. But people are saying here the reason for the 6 feet social distancing is because of the 6 feet apart rule allows the newest 5G satellites to track and fix in on your personal DNA frequency, which we've reported here numerous times on the GoldFish Report, tracing every human on the planet, control, the contact tracing thing. I saw a man in Melbourne do a YouTube video just after things started to open up, and he walked down the street in Melbourne videotaping these new 5G towers that they put up while everybody was in lockdown. What have you seen on that, Tim?
Yeah, that same fellow. It sounds like you're describing the same fellow from Brighton that just came out 3 or 4 days ago, whenever it was, with the video in Flemington with the apartment building, a whole group of apartment buildings, like towers, that are completely locked down. No one's allowed outside their door. So it's like what happened in China.
Sounds like in Wuhan.
Yeah, it's like a Wuhan-style event is current in Melbourne, in Flemington, which is near the city. It's out Flemington Road. I know Melbourne very well. And it's full of Sudanese, Iraqis, Afghanis, Iranian, Kurdish people, whatever. There's a whole different, and they're all from non-English speaking backgrounds from these countries that have gone through a lot of turmoil, and now these groups that have been put in housing commission, because a lot of them are like refugee status people that have migrated here as refugees, right? So if you said to them, how did you end up here in Australia? Because you haven't been here that long. You might have been here 4 or 5 years or 2 years or whatever. I came on a boat, or there was a war and I got evacuated and Australia opened its arms to me. So, and then they go and put them all in these buildings and cram them all in to these high rises. And now, stage 2, these are the ones who are locked in. It's like to me, it's like they're doing a social experiment on seeing how the people who have been through whatever they've been through, and they've come here and they've had freedom, and now they're all trapped in their 1 or 2 bedroom apartments with their 6 kids or whatever, I think. And apparently they got police on every 3rd floor. I think it's 3 police. They sit at a little table near the lift or something, and then if domestic if wife bashing type things start unfolding, they've got to go to the door and try and calm the peace, because people are going to lose their shit from being locked up in these tiny little housing commission apartment towers. They're high-rise towers, and downstairs people looking out the window. And so this same guy that you talked about walking around the CBD of Melbourne down Burke Street Mall, talking about the 5G and the smart bins and that. It was him who was there doing the video of what I was just describing to you. So I'm just repeating what he said.
Yeah, so we did see a report about a lot of people. I'm sorry, there's been a review of autopsies performed on people that have died with COVID. I'm not sure if they died from it, but some may have died from it. But what they are finding is major blood clots throughout the body. And someone here just made a comment that it's not a virus, it's a bacterial infection that causes thrombosis, blood clotting in veins. It stops the organs from getting oxygen. Italy found out that an aspirin antibiotic may be anti-clotting too. Yeah.
Oh, so that's good. That's a good thing then. So aspirin might be a blood thinner.
Yeah, a small aspirin blood thinner. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, this is what happens. We have seen a lot of people who, there's an explanation then for people just all of a sudden dropping dead, because when you clot and you just can't get any more oxygen molecules into your lungs, and your bloodstream blocks everything off. Well, of course you're going to collapse, right? Because your organs aren't getting blood, and you're going to just, you're going to black out. Might even be getting an embolism. What if some of these people are dying from embolisms, from in the brain or lung embolisms, so if it's clotting in the brain, exactly. What are you going to say, Tim?
Well, Yeah, I was just going to say, it's just come to memory from, because, I've researched a lot of natural remedies. Ginger, Gallengale, is a blood thinner, like ginger. So if you boil up ginger, I mean, ginger is also an alternative to travel calm, which is like for people who get seasick or motion sickness. So that too, and also cat's claw. I just remembered there's a little. It's like it just tastes like sweet water, but a few drops of cat's claw, which kills lots of things. It thins the blood as well. Apparently, I'm pretty sure it might. There's also a nasal spray, like saline one, like this one. Oh, sorry. Hang on.
That's okay. Some people are also saying, let's see, what else do we have here? Italy
Yep.
doc autopsies and found out that CDC and WHO, the World Health Organization, knew.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's a much better connection there. I don't know what you did, but it sounds much better.
The sound's coming through my earphones now instead of through the car kit.
Oh, okay, yeah, because so does the microphone. Okay, sounds good. Just keep it like
Wow.
it is.
Okay.
Oh, it's amazingly different. You sound almost like you're right next door.
I wish it was like that from the beginning then, because I didn't realize, and I accidentally unplugged it then, and by plugging it back in, it's transferred it from the car kit to the headphones. So
yeah, it's much better this way. Yeah, especially you sounded really distant, but no, it's okay. What have you got there, Tim?
Oh, it's just a saline solution for the nose, but there was a product I had recently that was saline, like salt water to spray up your nose, but it had a seaweed, some sort of sea kelp or seaweed in it. Ooh. And when you read the fine print, it says, do not take this if you're having an operation within 21 days of expecting to have some sort of elective surgery, blah, 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 because it can cause blood thinning problems that can cause problems during surgery.
Oh, right.
So there's some sort of seaweed that you can, if I knew the name of it, I would say it, but there's some sort of seaweed that they're putting in the sinus spray that's meant to be good, that thins your blood. So maybe, like, if that's what's going on, maybe that's an answer.
Yeah, Sherry says hi, by the way.
Oh, hello.
She's watching in. We have a live, the live chat going.
Yeah.
Tim says hello.
She emails me regularly. Yeah. Like, she supplies me with lots of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. She's the best. The seaweed is hard to swallow, should I say? It's a little bit. It's extremely salty. Yeah, I find it.
I guess so. But I mean, so's the salt going up your nose, and I guess it's not going on your taste buds.
Right, that's probably a good thing.
But yeah, and it's going, putting a lining there. But yeah, wow.
So it's amazing. I really, I think this is sadly, this is the culling of the population, the globalists, because we've all been programmed that money is king and that's what we seek. Unfortunately, we need to live, but to what extent? Do we have a capitalism with a conscience? Do we have a balance in terms of, what do we need versus what do we want? And, has greed driven us to the point that we don't care about one another anymore and we turn our heads and look the other way in indifference?
Yeah.
And is this going to happen? Are we going to see a repeat from Wuhan? That was communist China. Those walls were closed. It was very hard to get information out. But let me tell you, some people did manage to get some videos out. I do have most of them actually copied. And I have to tell you that it was very sad and horrific what happened there. The lies that went on. The millions of mobile subscribers who disappeared when China Mobile reported 20 million, maybe more, just disappeared from. Look, the reports of people coming out of Wuhan where there was 40, 50 crematoriums going 24/7, the fog that was reported over Wuhan for days and days and days because of all the smoke and ash from those crematoriums running 24/7. The people who were videotaping that the doors were being welded shut and people couldn't get out of their apartment buildings. Folks, I tried to get this information out so much, so desperately, but still there's going to be people, and because of the ignorance, and meaning that they're not informing themselves, not stupid, but ignorant people. And that just means without knowledge. So if
Yeah.
if you're not seeking knowledge, then you're ignorant because you don't have the knowledge you need to make good choices. And, who would think in today's day and age in 2020 that we would be dealing with another mass genocide? And this is exactly what's happening right before our eyes. And like you said, Tim, I mean, we all thought, oh, this could never happen again. We could never see another Auschwitz. We could never see another Holocaust. Folks, it's happening now. And we are the checks and balances. We have learned that we don't have faith in our government leaders. They are not on our side. They've been bought off. They've been blackmailed. And we're going to see this coming out very soon. The point is, what point's it going to get to, Tim, before people can start helping one another and say, we are in this together?
Yeah, where is the point of the shift where this terrible thing cannot be fulfilled? Because it's almost like, instead of looking at it dismally, I have a lot of hope and optimism that where this is going is actually going to create a response to it that is going to be of such magnitude that is going to stop it right in its tracks, and cause the world to instantaneously go in a whole new direction. And maybe it's possible that through our free will and choice as a collective, the distraction from the atrocity that stops the atrocity, what if it was, and I'm only putting this out there, was that it was visitors started to show up in mass numbers in our skies, and then the media has to talk about that, and then the people that are doing the atrocities become afraid because they know that someone out there who's much more powerful than us knows what they're doing, and they're like naughty little children who know they have to pull their head in and stop.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a good Hollywood movie anyway, like where, and I'm not asking for saviors either, but for those to have a conscience, it's like, that's why a toilet has walls around it, so that you feel you're left alone in peace. But if you're out in public and you feel like everyone's watching you, you're a little uncomfortable, right? So the same thing goes, that if there's other parties that are out there of a higher level of consciousness that know what's happening, and it causes those who are knowingly doing the wrong thing, it's a kick in the ass for them. In the presence of their showing up en masse to the public, maybe. I mean, that would be a solution. That would be a way to end it all. I think that would be a great thing. Who knows? I'm not saying that's how it's going to unfold, but, I feel like I'm tapping a potential there, because, how far does it have to go where this seems like it's not a nice future before we can see that we have a bright future coming? We need to see that bright future. How does that bright future manifest and become greater than what we're currently seeing unfold? We're supposed to be going to a wonderful place, aren't we?
Well, we're not there yet. We've got these birth pains, and it's according to, we have someone in the chat saying everybody's always throwing around the Holocaust. That's just one more commonly known and more commonly discussed example. But she says, but what's actually going on is more like what went on in the Mao's communist China and Stalin and Lenin's Russia. Many more people were genocided, exactly, in the gulags and so forth. So what I'm saying, I mean, that's even more to the point, you know, more evidence to the point to support that the world leaders, the globalists who are behind the world leaders that we see, there's globalists, you'll never see them and you'll never know their names of who's really responsible for this, because they're so rich they don't have to be out in front doing it. They hire puppets to do it. So the whole idea is that you're not going to really know who's behind it, although Soros's name has come up a few times, and not only by, you know, people online, but certainly even by conversations with other leaders as well. Because I think there are some that are not along with this agenda, and I think there are some who are trying to, in their own way, try to help the world. You know, so you see people like what was it, the president of one of the African nations, Tim? You probably saw that as well. Who took all these tests, right, sent by China, and had them, you know, swabbed an avocado or swabbed, you know, a couple of different things, not a human, a goat, and it came back positive for corona, which tells you that it's either fake, they're either giving people back fake results, or it's in the swab itself. There's no other two possibilities.
Yeah, and then there's the leader of Ghana doing the address to his nation, that YouTube video on the Rockefeller document of 2010. So if anyone wants to go on to YouTube and type in President of Ghana 2010 Rockefeller document, that should bring up his address to the nation, where he tells his citizens to be vigilant in the face of evil that is pushing this agenda on us at the moment. So obviously there are certain jurisdictions on the planet that believe they are fighting an evil. And I would hope that, you know, we're all waiting for evidence of these mass arrests and so on, that there is a war going on between the light and the dark, and that the light is winning, and that soon those who are doing these terrible things will be the ones trying to run away, and they will be captured and they will be stopped, and suddenly we'll begin to wake up in a new dawn, where in a world where it has been turned around, and we can have faith that we are moving to a better place, because those operatives who are doing these terrible things are no longer in the picture. But it's so hard to see what is truly going on with that, and to have trust and faith in that. But then again, you know, you could refer to that statement, what is it, from the Bible, that says all that, what is it, something like all that is dark will come into the light.
All that is hidden will be revealed. Exactly. That's the great apocalypse, which is what the term apocalypse actually means. The unveiling, the revealing.
And so if this is the unveiling, if we are living through the unveiling now, you know, then how far...
We have a ways to go. It's end times, Jim.
Yes.
It's end times, Tim. There's no question. And, you know, I'm not saying this to be religious. I'm saying this because, well, it happens to be consistent with what they're describing in end times. So perhaps there was more to the Bible than a lot of people give it credit for. Although we know that parts of it have been adulterated, perhaps parts are more warrant more attention than others are giving. Yeah.
At the end of the day, when you think about it, it comes down to safety. Do we feel safe? Do we feel we have a right to belong and to feel safe and deserving to exist? That to think that someone may be trying to take that away, or to try and hurt us all, you know, when you think about it, It's not very nice. I mean, we've for many years watched on the TV screens as these terrible things have happened in other countries and thought that will never happen here. You know, that'll never come to our street. And it's, you know, happening in the third world, which isn't the first world. And no one really knows where the second world is. But in truth, it's really one world. And we use terms of division to separate ourselves from something that's going on somewhere else. You know, to walk past that homeless person and say, I don't want to engage in his shit because that distracts from where I need to focus my shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, there's certain extent. Look, I think what we can learn from what you're saying here is that it's important to be the good Samaritan. It truly is. We all need to
Yeah.
be good Samaritans.
We all
That
have it as
doesn't mean,
children.
yeah,
We
that
all
doesn't mean
had
we
it.
abandoned. Well, the kids today
No.
don't have it. Oh my God, that's the problem.
It's been beat out of me. I had it as long as I could. I was a Peter Pan. I'm still a little bit of a Peter Pan. But I kept those high ethical morals for a long time, those spiritual, childlike morals of peace and goodwill and be kind and be nice to everyone. And that's what comes back to you. And then you end up, as you get older, it's like life's beating the shit out of you. Excuse I'm using swear words tonight, but it's the best description probably. I know in some other countries it's more offensive than here, but in Australia it's nothing to say that word.
We consider them, you know, if they're strategically used, they're called sentence enhancers, and they have a linguistic effect that is undeniable. Because if you typically don't use them and then suddenly you use them, they do have a more of an emphatic meaning behind the idea you're trying to express. So I don't. That's my that's my policy on my channel. This is the policy here.
When I was born, well, when I came into this life, the whole default scenario was that I was set up to live in a utopia. So when it wasn't reflecting a utopian mindset, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But everyone else around me who's representing the norm is basically saying, you can't stay in that place you're in, Tim. You have to come back to reality and slowly give up your dreams of this utopian ideal and be in the real world. But when I was 2, 3, 4, 5, it was out running in the field with daisies and flowers and the birds and the bees and the sun and all the smells on the wind. And it was this wonderful, magical experience to have a human form and have this life. And then there's all this shit happens, and then it's all about having enough money in your super and like having to go to work. And then there's some rich people that never have to work and have really nice places. And then if you don't work hard enough, you're going to end up like some poor bastard over there in the caravan who's an alcoholic and spends all his money on cigarettes and dies of liver failure at 55. You know, like the world's not a very friendly place. And yet we're born with so much optimism as children, you know?
Yeah, no, it is disappointing. I can just remember, you know, when I was, you know, a child, not a lot, but what I do remember is just noticing the adults around me had such a low vibration. I know, like older people were they would always be like unhappy. They would never smile. And like, that was like made the most impact on me, was like,
oh my God.
And I'm thinking like, why is everybody so sad and uptight and upset and stressed? And, you know, why is everybody like that here? I just couldn't, it just didn't.
Where are you now? Have you
sense.
become one of them? Are children looking at you and thinking the same about you now? You know, is that what's going on here?
Well, you know what? I hope not. I hope not. I hope that you know, I've been able to preserve my connection. That's what I think. I think my original source connection, which allowed me to make these observations, as I was not part of that. And I
Yeah,
still feel like I'm not part of that, but I'm not, I'm in this world, but not of it. In other words, you know what I'm saying? Because I recognize
yeah,
that my soul, my spirit, you know, is only here in the meat suit. And, you know,
yeah.
when you leave the meat
True.
suit, you know, you're not bound to this dimension any longer. But you know, it is just that. And it was depressing as it, I mean, not depressing. I didn't get to, like, I didn't let it affect me and how I felt, because I knew,
Mm,
you know, what, like, I didn't internalize it as something about myself. I didn't have that lack of self-esteem, you know. I didn't, so it wasn't like an
yeah,
issue. Didn't, it wasn't something that I internalized. And I don't think most people wouldn't internalize it,
yeah,
because there doesn't seem to be any connection, you know, to do so. But it was just an observation that, you know, just how, um, why were the old people so sad? And, you know,
yes,
now you can understand that. And it's like, how many incarnations do we need to go through with the same old, you know, narrative, the same old dark, gonna, you know, destroy your soul? You
that's
know, it's
it.
like,
Yeah,
how many times does our soul have to be destroyed and raped before we, you know, are released from this reincarnation cycle of hell with the, and I know that there is a process of, this is what we're going through right now. There will be a process of
mm,
balancing. There has to be a balance of energy, the yin yang. There has to be. And the dark think that they're going to succeed. And what's happening right now is as horrible as it really seems. You know, they're the dark are going to, you know, make more progress with their agenda, from what I see, before it's completely snatched away from them. And it will be. And I do believe that. When will that happen? I have no idea. But sadly, I do
yeah,
think, because what's going to happen is it has to get to a point where everybody starts to realize we're in this together. And until humanity can come together as one, and I'm telling you, Tim, from everything we've been through, all the interviews with Cobra, all the interviews with secret space program whistleblowers, all the interviews with um, all people from all walks of life. Let me tell you, the one common theme that had the highest view report I've ever had, was "Let peace break out." And and that people want
wow,
positive messages. There's so many more people. That was like 160,000 views on that one video, and that
wow.
was with Dr. Scott Werner. And it's true that what we have to do is we have to learn, come hell or high water, that we're all in this together. And until we do that, it's gonna, more shit's gonna hit the fan. There's gonna be more division, more rage, more everything. We have to come together. That is how we graduate from this planet. That's the only way to do it, is that we have to graduate. And that's the one thing
Yeah,
we need to do, is come together. And what's the one thing the dark is trying to do to prevent us from doing that, is by
keep
dividing
us,
us. Dividing.
dividing us,
Really, that
and keep
simple.
us fighting.
It's that simple,
Um,
isn't it, Tim?
because, but at the end of the day, all we've got is each other, because the common enemy is what we're giving our power away
Sure.
to divide us. And so we can't be together while everyone's giving their power away to someone else who's deliberately dividing us.
Exactly. And so I think that you can tell a civilization, Tim, we can't go on to that utopian
yet,
society
yet
until
a whole,
people learn the lesson that we have to
um,
be, we're in this together. Where we go one, we go
it's,
all.
it must be, yeah. And it must be really interesting for these other civilizations outside this petri dish of Earth who have already achieved that to be observed.
Hmm.
They would see us as such an interesting case study and say, look at where they are and what they're doing. And this is so
Hmm.
fascinating. You know, like, I know there's so many different perspectives out there, and we know that the
Right.
universe is rich. So surely we have to assume without a doubt that we are being observed. And so what we do right now is really important, because we're actually we're under check by, we're being watched and monitored. So, you know, we gotta do what's right. And those
Yeah.
who aren't doing what's right, need to stop. And I just hope that whatever's going on, when frequency, ascension, whatever, the frequency's going up, the dark can't resonate in it, and everything they do seems just stops working, as if they're having a lot of bad luck, and then they're in decline, and we go to a nice place. You know, I hope that's what's happening.
Well, I think we'll get there eventually, but we are going to have to fight for our right to live peacefully. We do have I think what we saw with interviews from Onek, who says she's a walk-in from Venus. Whether she is or not, I can't validate that. But her opinion was that this same group of negative entities were present there as well, and collectively the planet kicked them out. And that's the only way to do it, folks. We have to unite. And it's going to be, it's a war. This is, again, I hate to keep, and I'm not trying to sound religious, but let's look at the Torah as well. So you have to realize that we are in end times, and this is what's playing out. And people have to, if you want to inherit the earth, then you better fight for it. That's what we need to do. And I'm not going to expect God to be the one. God, someone said to me once, you see a mountain, right? And you have to get past that mountain, but you can't do it. So you ask God. So what you have is you have a shovel, and all you have is a shovel, right? So what do you do? You ask God to help you. God says he will help. So what and so what does that mean? Does that mean God's going to, take the shovel and dig for you? Or does it mean that you're going to dig with the shovel and God's going to move that mountain? But the whole point is that you still need to do your digging. So everybody still has to do their part, has to do their share. Nothing's given for free. I really hate to say it. Nothing's really given for free. We have to earn. If we want to become a class 1 or level 1 civilization where we can start becoming galactic and start having the utopia that we want, we damn well better fight for it. But we have to do it collectively. I just don't see how it's going to happen if we don't do it collectively. It's nice to think, because the parts of religion have been adulterated and have tried to mislead us and think that we don't have the power within us. That's not what Jesus was teaching us. That's what the churches were teaching us, that we're sinners, and that we had to have the middleman, and the priest or the rabbi or whatever in the middle between us and our Creator. And the fact is that we don't. And we call upon the power of that Creator. We can do anything we want, but we have to do it collectively. And we've seen that mass meditation has a major effect on things. So what else did we do? We like on crime and on illness and on all kinds of things, that there are scientific documentation that mass meditation has a positive effect on crime. Crime. So this is why we do these mass meditations, but it just seems like it's going to be such a struggle, and we're not going to make it. We're all not going to make it. That's the reality of it, because we have to do this collectively as earthlings. That's what we are. We have to get out of this small, narrow-minded, well, this country, that country, I'm black, I'm white, I'm this. And they're just engineering us like little sheep, and while they slaughter us, walk us right to that slaughterhouse. But what we are is earthlings, and if we don't unite and shag, I guess, throw off the fleas, they will consume us and destroy us from within. So I think it's time for us to realize that everybody has to play an active role in this, Tim. What do you think? Before we start to wrap up, I know you're getting tired there, mate. It's late.
I am tired. That's why I'm very excited, because I'm not normally up this late. That's why I've missed you so much. I've missed you as well, but you've missed. You've mentioned, can you come on? And I'm like, well, I'm going to bed at 8:30 these days, because I'm working 12 or 13-hour days, like 7 days a week, 4 weeks straight, and everything. But what just came to mind then was, if the whole world collectively went into a higher state, it could be likened to the state a couple have when they're in that romantic love, because nothing can penetrate it, because the little bubble the two are in, while it's there, because it doesn't always stay that way, because sometimes love is blind, right? But nothing can penetrate them. And, you know, people go, oh, they're not made for each other, but you can't tell them at the moment because they're infatuated with each other, blah, blah, blah. But if the whole world was infused with this shift to a higher state that in some way is likened to when a couple are going through their honeymoon love period, it would be such a powerful collective energy that nothing dark could get in that. I mean, obviously it's going to have a different context to that bubble love of two individuals, but it's, you know where I'm going here. You know what I'm trying to say is that the world
we have to
recognizes without logical thinking. It's just a knowing through a feeling and a state of being that comes into being, that we all align and tap into. And once we're all in that and feeling it, and then we all just know. We just know that we know, and it's just there. And then there's nothing that has to be pushed with effort, because that state is so strong that it's the state itself is what sustains us into that higher state that other civilizations out there would be very welcoming.
Yeah, but that's the reward. That's our reward, though, because we have to fight for this. So I think things are gonna. I think from what we're looking at, there's going to be more attempts to control us, and there's going to be more attempts to depopulate us. So, you know, sadly, they've done such a thorough job of dividing us that it's going to be impossible. It seems impossible to do the job. And we may need divine intervention because of how thorough. And one of the things that Omnek Onek also said was that it was never as severe on their planet as it was on Earth. It was never. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it's very believable, because it's never so thoroughly infested. The infestation, like it metastasized everywhere on this planet. Yeah. And that made it so much harder. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm just hoping that everything that we're going through now that seems to be repeating some certain things that happen in history, I'm hoping that it's just a revisit to clean up and finish the unfinished work, and it's only a brief visitation of all these terrible things. I'm hoping that what's happening now is simply just retouching so that we can massively react and protest to it, unlike what happened, say, 80 years ago or whatever. That there's a lot of where everyone resistance. There seems to be, if there's something that's different about now with the same things coming at us, is there is a larger resistance. Would I be correct in saying that there seems to be a greater sense of resistance in larger numbers of not wanting that compared to before, or am I completely wrong about that? I'm not sure. I'm tired.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate, let's wrap this up. And, I just want to appreciate you joining us and kind of jumping on the horn. I know it's been a while since we've done an update, so I do appreciate you jumping in.
It's so good to see you and Steve again.
Definitely. It is. It kind of grounds us. Nah, grounds us back in reality. Is like, if I can see Tim, everything's okay so far still. If we can get Tim, get a report with Tim, just know what's going on with the world, we're okay for the moment. So that's why it's important to do these updates, because Tim, the day that we can't do them anymore is the day that things have progressed to a point where we should all be quite concerned. So, but we have to do it ourselves, folks. The hard work is ours to, and the reward, the goal is the victory will be ours as well. So we are in our final battle between dark and light, between good and evil. So we need to kick it off this planet, but that's all we can do. So do you have any closing comments for our viewers, Tim? Or a message or anything?
No, like what you just said, like, as long as we can keep talking and getting this out there, otherwise it ends up like a Kevin Costner movie like 2012 or Waterworld, where you walk up to these survivors and you go, aren't you the lead singer out of that famous band that was around 20 years ago? And or like, what did you used to do? I was working in a photocopy shop. And he was like this terrible leader. But I think good things are coming. It's been ordained. It's what we deserve, and there's no Mad Max. There's no there's no Terminator AI thing. I think things are being expressed out even in fantasy, because that's not the actuality of where we're going, and we're still creating where we're going. Like, I haven't been on my parents' farm for 4 months, and I drove up the road today and looked out in the paddock, and there was a bush or a bunch of something growing in the middle of the paddock that's never been there in 47 years of my life. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Nothing has ever grown there. Why is it growing there now? It's like there's been a timeline shift, and suddenly there's something in the paddock as if it was always there. It was really strange. And
well, what's happening is, when we start to see the Saudi Peninsula, when you start to see the deserts of the Arabian deserts start become lush again, then we're in end times.
Yeah. Wow. Is that happening? Is that
there's been snow there. Wow. There's been things. No, that's changing. Things are changing, and so these are definitely the end times, and we really are preparing for that. Of course, the propaganda media is going to play that down. It's just not going to be a big deal to them. Just like a lot of other things, they just play down. They may report on, this large celestial bodies, in our solar system, but we're not going to talk about it again. And there it goes, so it's but look, let's try and make it not so long again before between our next report, just so we can keep an eye on things. We need to keep the pulse, our finger on the pulse of what the status is where we are in different places of the world. So Tim's in Australia, Steve was joining us from Austria, and I'm here in America, and we're giving our viewers today this update around the world, and we hope you enjoyed it. And so, Tim, I do hope you come back soon when you can, mate, because I know it's very hectic.
Let's see where we are in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I'll say 3 weeks to 4 weeks with this COVID stage 2. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't know where this is going. But it's going somewhere, and let's just see where it's going. And if you got the time and space and I somehow get caught up in lockdown and I'm bored and not working, I'll have plenty of time to talk to you then anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, that was it. I was never so busy than I was during lockdown. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the message is we need to keep our eye on the prize, folks, and we need to remember that 1,000 years of which is predicted in the Bible, is ours, but our victory has to come. We have to fight for it collectively, and we have to, because how are we going to appreciate that, folks? Are we going to sabotage that? Are we going to just bring this mess with us? And the reality is we're not going to bring it with us. We're not going to be given that 1,000 years of peace and prosperity if we're not going to fight for it. So, I think if we look at the Bible and we look at the prophecies as time travel and time predictions, I think we might, take it a little bit differently, and we might all kind of just rethink about what we're doing. So thanks again, Tim. Good to see you, mate.
You're
Hang in there, and
Yep,
we'll touch
thank
base
you.
in a couple weeks and see how things are going. And be safe
Yeah.
with you and your family down there.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks. You get some sleep, mate.
I will. Yeah. It's nearly 2 a.m.
Oh my God, it's so late for you there. Thank you so much for staying up late for us.
That's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Well, you take it easy, mate,
All
and
right.
have a good night.
You
Get
too.
some sleep.
All right.
Okay. So
See ya.
long. Everybody, thank
Bye.
you so much for joining us. Say bye to Tim in the chat, please, everybody. And, we'll put link your YouTube channel up there, Tim, and I'll send you the link shortly, my friend.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be brilliant.
Excellent.
Okay, see you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
See ya.
This concludes. I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us and who's been watching live, and to everyone in our live chat. I've been watching the live chat. There's been great conversation going on there. That's really wonderful, because we all need to really kind of, one step at a time, realize that we are in this together. I mean, this where we go one, we go all is not, it means more than you could possibly know. I think it's our responsibility as earthlings to make this planet what we want. And our leaders have seemed to have failed us repeatedly over and over and over again. And there's no faith. I think many of us have lost faith, and you can see that from these riots that are happening globally. Look, I'm not saying that there's not police brutality. I'm not saying that there's injustices in all areas of life. But why are they focusing on police brutality? And, there is an agenda. It's a Trojan horse, folks, and it's a very deadly one. It is not a good agenda for America. And I think we need to be very careful. It's very hard when you talk to some liberals who just absolutely are fact resistant. They will stay, they're very disenfranchised, obviously. So they, want to call out injustice. So they don't really know what injustice is yet. So, this is the test of souls these days. We're all being tested, and we all have to fight for what's right. And this is the chance for us to decide collectively as Earthlings what we want this planet to become. And it's our responsibility to do it. Religion's taught us that it's not within our control, but it is. So we need to do it because it's our responsibility. So everybody do their part. Everybody do what you can. I don't know why this chair keeps scooting down on me. Whatever. So have a great day, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And again, tomorrow we'll be back with our political theater. The Fets had to take the day off today. We will not be doing it live, but we will be posting it on our BitChute channel. But we will post a thumb marker. We will have a place marker for it in our YouTube channel, and there will be a link to it below in the description section. Just click on that link and it'll go take you right to BitChute. We've already had 3 videos removed in the past week from YouTube, and another one has had some sort of age restriction enforced on it. I don't know why. GoldFish Report doesn't usually require age restrictions unless it's truth. Yeah. So everybody needs to realize we're Earthlings and we need to do this together. Don't buy into this separation. We're all brothers and sisters, folks. We're all brothers and sisters. We have to love each other. We're all part of the same Creator. So how can we not want to be a good Samaritan? How can we not want to be there to help people, especially those who have fallen in the dark and have realized that they need to redeem themselves now? Because this is major judgment time. We're all going to be, I guess, placed appropriately, right? There has to be a balance of energy. So, and I think that's gone way, way, way too dark on this planet for too long. And it's time that there's a correction. And I think there will be a correction, but we have to fight for this, folks. It's all of our responsibility to do this. So Yeah, not sure what we can do, but we have to try collectively. So everybody have a great week, and we'll be back with more reports. I'll be back with a POTUS report. You can find the political theater with the FETs on our BitChute channel, and we'll still be here for you as we have for over 5 years now. Thank you for viewing, and to all of our Patreons, thank you so much. We can't do this without your help. It does help to cover expenses, and I would like to see that, if it's possible, people can become a Patreon, make a commitment to help support the channel. That would be wonderful. That will help keep the reports going. I feel almost any day like we're going to have to stop almost any day because it's just cost prohibitive. We can't keep the lights on, so to speak. In fact, the air conditioning broke, so we have no AC. And it's really quite frustrating in this time right now. So, any help would be appreciated. And if you do like the reports, please show your support and become a Patreon. So you can find all that information on our website at thegoldfishreport.com. So everybody have a great day, have a great weekend, and we'll see you, or week, and we'll see you later. This concludes this edition of the Goldfish Report. Thanks everybody who's been in the live chat. Great conversation going on. Appreciate your contributions there. See you next time.